BNCP College of Pharmacy, aligned with Indian Drug Manufacturers Association and Pharmacy Council of India. I kindly request our esteemed guest to take place on the dais. This is the platform where insightful ideas will be shared, knowledge will be spread, and the collaboration will be forged. I kindly request all of you to stand for national anthem followed by Maharashtra.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you everyone. I request everyone to take their seats. Today we are gathered here to commence National cGMP Day with a shared vision of installing a deep commitment within everyone to uphold the utmost standards of quality and safety within pharmaceutical sector. This event is not only tangible proof to our shared knowledge but also signifies the coming together of brilliant minds and dedicated individuals who play a pivotal role in making this event a success. Before we embark on this enlightening journey of sharing knowledge and meaningful discussion, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished guests who have graciously accepted our invitation to be part of this event. Your presence here is a source of inspiration for all of us, and we are honored to have you as with today. Before we begin, let's start this event by offering prayers to Goddess Saraswati. She is the goddess of learning, creativity, and art. We seek her blessings to enlighten our mind and heart. I kindly request esteemed guests on the dais to offer flowers to Goddess Saraswati.
या वीरावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्कर प्रभृतिभिः देवे सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा.
As we complete this beautiful ritual of offering flowers to Goddess Saraswati, may we be blessed with the wisdom to recognize right from wrong and the creativity to express our innermost thoughts and feelings. Thank you all. Today, we are honored to have special guest with us who has made significant impact in their field. Before we move forward with our program, I would like to request Dr. Sujata Savarkar ma'am to welcome the esteemed guest, Dr. Parizat El-Chidana. She has 34 years of experience in pharmaceutical industry along with continuous close association with academia. She has contributed immensely to pharmaceutical sector. I kindly request Dr. Sujata ma'am to welcome Dr. Parizat El-Chidana ma'am by giving bouquet. We have distinct honor of welcoming yet another distinguished guest, Dr. Rajiv Desai, who has 36 years of experience in pharmaceutical industry. I kindly request Sujata ma'am to welcome sir in the Before we delve into the heart of this event, it is our pleasure to invite someone whose support and guidance have been instrumental to make this event a success. She is a pillar of strength and a source of inspiration for all of us. She has not only encouraged us to dream big, but also has nurtured those dreams into reality through unwavering support and vision. Her leadership has been a guiding light for our institution. I would like to request Dr. Sujata Savarkar ma'am to share a few words about the significance of this event.
Thank you, Padmaja, and warm welcome to all my students, budding professionals, and dignitaries on the dais. It's a proud moment for us, all of us, to have Parizat Madam and Rajiv Sir as distinguished speakers for the day. Now, GMP, or what we call it as cGMP, just an abbreviation, but it has a lot underlying meaning to it, because this is something, a strong pillar which decides the quality of the product, the safety of the patients to whom we are catering to, as well as the fate, reputation of our entire pharma industry. So GMP is something, it's just an abbreviation, but there is a lot of it that goes, and it is very necessary that we instill and imbibe the concept of GMP. Probably you must have had, or you must have come across this terminology just for the sake of writing answer in your industrial pharmacy too, just one topic that you must have come across. But there's a lot to it when we talk about GMP. And it is a very good initiative by IDMA and Pharmacy Council of India under the aegis of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, that we are commemorating cGMP to instill the importance in budding professionals. Because tomorrow when you join industry, GMP would be something that it will take you far ahead in the career, as well as it will be eventually having a lot of impact on the quality of the products that we are making day-to-day basis. So GMP need not be just for pharma sector, but a good practice could be for any profession that you go further. So why not instill right in the beginning stage? A simple GMP practice can be day to day, what you are doing, you are documenting it. It is as simple that what you do, you write, and what is written, you do. So with that thought in mind, I feel that GMP day should not be it's not just a ritual that we do for one day. I feel we should be practicing throughout 365 days. And to who else can share their valuable insights, because we have two eminent personalities. Padmaja just mentioned about that more than 3 decades of pharmaceutical experience or professional experience, Parizat Madam and Rajiv Desai sir, and they will share valuable insights because they have seen what is happening in industry, They have held eminent positions in industry, so we are privileged and we are thankful to both of them that they accepted our invitation despite their busy schedule. And I'm sure they will enlighten us by sharing their day-to-day shop floor experiences, how they came across and how they implemented in their professional culture. So without much ado, I request Padmaja to take further. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Your wisdom and guidance always serve as a beacon of light for our institution. Your words today have not only enriched our understanding of the event but have also motivated and encouraged us. Today, we have a special guest, Dr. Parizad Elchidana, who holds PhD. Today, we have special guest, Dr. Parizad Elchidana, who holds PhD in pharmaceutical science. She has done post-graduation specialization in pharmaceutical technology from State University of Belgium. She is qualified and trained as an internal auditor for ISO 9000 Quality Management System. She has a diploma in business management and computer science. She has extensively 35 years experience in global generic pharmaceutical industry with a specialization in research and development, especially of patent non-infringing products and processes and quality management systems. She has a deep expertise in a startup and setting up and managing greenfield projects on behalf of foreign investors. She has delivered numerous global FTF submissions along with successful launches in the regulated and the semi-regulated markets. She has a few patents and research publications to her credit and has deep understanding and knowledge of QBD and AI related to product and process development and analysis. She has a wide experience in total remediation for the US FDA and followed by successful facility clearance. She is ex-managing director of Apotex Research Private Limited, which is Indian arm of a #1 generic pharmaceutical company in Canada. Her recent past assignment was in Dubai, where she was invited to support a startup company, Pharmax Pharmaceuticals FZ LLC, as Chief Technical Officer for facility setup, qualification, and regulatory approvals to initiate operations. She moved back to India post completion of these commitments and joined ACG. Currently, she is a principal technical consultant at ACG from May 2019. Throughout industrial career, she remained close to academics. She is a visiting faculty and is on technical advisory board of various colleges in India and Dubai. She is recognized guide for PhD in couple of universities. She is an invited speaker at various national and international seminars and symposia, and currently she is the president of Control Relief Society India chapter and co-chair of AAPS Western India chapter Mumbai discussion group. I would like to invite Dr. Parizad Elchidana ma'am to share her significant thoughts.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Can I have my slide deck? Just one correction over here. As of last month, and I'm no longer the president of Control Relief Society Indian chapter. I've stepped down. I'm immediate past president.
Immediate past president, but guiding person, what you can say, Karta Dharta Karavita of CRSIC. So, although it was she, we still look upon her as president. Okay.
That's done. Yeah. So today's day, we are celebrating as National cGMP Day, and this is what has been communicated to us by IDMA. And what we are trying to talk today about is continuous GMP compliance for product safety and quality, not just one time, but on a continuous basis. You have to have GMP compliance within your facilities. There are many definitions of quality which people have utilized in pharma. This is one particular definition which we normally, or I normally put forward in my presentations, is fitness for use, and which means that drug meets its quality attributes, not just quality attributes, even regulatory compliances. Because just meeting quality requirements is not enough. You have to comply with all the various regulatory requirements. So there was a pledge which has been put up on IDMA's website. Hopefully you all have seen it. Some of you all may already may be taking it. But see the last line, I mean it's a very long pledge. But the last line is very, very clear over here that finally we pledge to achieve high standards in product quality and safety through personal integrity. Very, very important. We are in pharma profession and individual personal integrity is very important because we are playing with the lives of patients, right? So personal integrity, transparency and ethical practices and to deliver quality medicines on time, every time. Delivering them late is of no use, you may lose a patient. So it's an excellently written pledge. We all will be taking it at the end of the session. That would be a very good move. So coming to cGMP, which is the topic of today. So let's look at what is cGMP. Schedule M, you all must be aware, it's a part of Drugs and Cosmetics Act, very, very old Act 1940. But just to tell you all, it has been revised and now revised Schedule M is being put in place. So GMP for pharmaceuticals should be followed by pharmaceutical manufacturing units based in India. That is what is GMP as per Schedule M requirements, India based. Secondly, it is a part of quality assurance also, which assures that the products are consistently manufactured and controlled as per the quality standards requirements, as per the intended use. So it's not just manufacturing, it's the quality part as well. So GMP is a set of requirements for ensuring that the products are consistently produced and controlled according to the laid down quality standards. So as per what Sujata said, write what you do what you have written, and one more point after that, document to prove that you have done as per what you have written. Yeah, that's the data part of it which one starts collecting. So that's again very, very important. But then what is cGMP? Now earlier it was like, yes, we are following the GMP requirements, we have done everything as per that. But is that current? It may be something in the past. Today the requirement is different. Things change every day. So then the small c came into the picture, which is current good manufacturing practice with the regulations enforced by the FDA. And cGMP once again provides for systems that assure proper design, monitoring and control of manufacturing processes and facilities. But then what is GMP for manufacturing? The GMP for manufacturing entails only these 5 pillars. It talks of premises, it talks of products and raw materials, people, processes and procedures. So where is the quality part in it? You have to inbuild quality within all these aspects. So how did the evolution of GMP and quality come about? Initially, to start with, in the olden days, they were just testing the final quality of the product in the QC lab and that's it, done. Product is as per the required quality and they would release it to the market. Then came the next portion, that that's not enough. We need to assure the quality into the product, and that's where the quality assurance came into the picture. So apart from QC labs, you had a quality assurance department which is continuously monitoring the quality of the product, and that's how you had the quality of the product instituted as well as the quality of the process being instituted, because the QA department is continuously monitoring the quality of the product as it's passing through the complete process as well. It's not just end product quality. So that's how GMP regulations came into being, because they started testing the products even during manufacture. And then we came to another concept of total quality management, where they said you must do everything right the first time. There is no chance of errors, there is no chance of mistakes. But mistakes do happen. How do you handle those mistakes? You should have procedures for handling mistakes as well. So even that then starts getting included into this. And then we went into the latest concept that build quality into the product and the process through quality by design. When we were at the center stage, quality assurance and end product quality, it was the product quality which we used to get. Like in R&D, we'll develop a product, we'll see what are the results we are getting, those will become our specifications. Now, if you are developing a product, say profile, you have to identify what profile you want to achieve. That will be your quality target profile. And as per that profile, you will have to develop your product and build in the dissolution requirement so that there is no chance of error or failure of the product that you have designed later on. So this is what is the latest concept. Quality by design, it's built not only for the product, even for the process. Your process has to be so robust that your quality target product profile, QTPP, is being met whilst you are processing that particular product on the shop floor. And all these concepts and all, I think it's a full day session on QBD. Can't just be taken in 5 minutes or 10 minutes and I have over here. But you all must have studied or will be studying these particular concepts within your coursework. So that's how QBD came into being. And that's where we had the QC lab, the QA guys, and then started coming in the compliance experts, because we talked about regulatory compliance earlier. It's not just about quality, it's also about compliance. And then over here we have current good manufacturing practices. Then came in quality management systems with ISO 9000. Now during our time we had GMP, we had all quality assurance, we had quality built into the product, and when you systematically manufacture the product, you keep on getting the product of a systematic quality, but there was no chance of improving it further. Like say if my specification was 90 to 110 and consistently I'm producing at 95, fantastic, I'm doing it in a consistent way, but is there any room for improvement? I'm not leaving any room for improvement. So the next requirement came in is you have to look at continuous improvement. I don't think you can see the last question over there, which is under Q4 guidelines. We have industry 1, 2, 3, 4. Same way we have pharma 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we are at quality 4 guidelines, which is now started talking about continuous improvement. And since last 6-7 years, US FDA has been visiting India and finding a lot of issues with Indian pharma companies. Even the data as of 2021 is showing that 100 companies were given warning letters and put alert. They are saying there's something wrong with the culture of quality in India. So what is this? We need to improve about quality, right? Last, I have a few slides for culture and quality this time. I'll touch upon those. So, what is actually happening? The issue is, I follow cGMP, GMP, as per Schedule M, as per India requirements. I set up a plan, I start running it. Futuristically, I want to export. Can you export from the same plant? You have to have WHO approval. Sorry, So developing countries, you have to have WHO approval. Developed countries, semi-developed countries, they have their own regulatory system. You have to have approvals from all these regulatory agencies. That's why the advice is, if you're starting a new plant, which is what we did, look at all the regulatory requirements from most of the countries that you are looking at exporting, collect them all together and put them in place and start up a plant in that manner so that it's easy to move forward. But even when you're moving forward, keep one thing in mind. Being in India, Indian approval is the first approval that you need to get. So GMP approval from India is the first approval you need to have before you can call any other regulatory agencies to come and inspect your facility. So this so many regulatory agencies, and believe me, diverse requirements. Not just on GMP, even on regulatory submissions. I don't know if any of you all are there from regulatory affairs. Even regulatory submissions, one country wants something, another wants something else. So you cannot have one consistent submission. So with all these things, it's quite tough for a company which is an EOU, which is an export-oriented unit, the way we had set it up. It's very difficult. So there needs to come in some harmonization. So how the harmonization is coming in, they're looking at it. They came up with what is called as ICH guidelines. And then ICH guidelines are giving guidelines not just with respect to GMP requirements, over and above those. And those are the guidelines which will cover from your product development, conceptualization, right up to the product life cycle. Now you will say how we can control the life cycle of the product. The product life cycle is controlled by the regulations because of the annual reports that you submit. In your annual reports, you will be writing about the history of that product, what has happened to it during the whole year. During review, if the regulators feel that you are having too many rejects, that you are having too many stability issues, that it has gone out of the range of your quality control limits on a number of occasions, they will say, sorry, you need to have a re-review of your product. So that's the product life cycle. So this is how even product life cycle gets controlled. And it's not moving. So how the QMS has further improved is through the various ICH guidelines. There is a QIT guideline which talks about QBD. They are also talking about PAT, that is process analytical techniques. You all must be aware of that. During continuous processing, you have to adopt to this PAT to have a continuous monitoring of your process. Q9, which is quality risk management, and this is for decision making. They say any quality related decisions or any pharma decisions that you take. I mean, it's just simple common sense that any decision you take on risk-based analysis. You find out what are the various risks involved if you take decision A, B, or C, and see where the risks are minimal and the gains are maximum, and accordingly you take a decision. So this is about risk management. I say Q10, quality systems and cGMP requirements. So this is where the handshake is there between various regulatory agencies and International Council of Harmonization, ICH. Then they felt that's not enough. They came up with Q11 for drug substance because earlier all the requirements were talking only of drug product. So drug substance is the API, the bulk drug. So they came up with requirements for the bulk drug. And then came life cycle management, where it is managing from the need analyzed up to the final product life. We came to Q13, which is continuous manufacturing, which is the latest concept. You all must have heard of it, continuous manufacturing. And finally now, even analytical method development is getting harmonized. So complete validation for analytical method development, complete QBD requirements for analytical method developments are all getting covered. So this is the extent to which now quality is moving forward. The comments are, you comply with all the health authority requirements, whichever health authority you are planning to approach, make it right the first time, and win patient and customer loyalty. You will never go wrong, right? Quality criteria for GMP compliant product. What is it? Safety, identity, the strength should be okay. Many a times you see product recalls because the strength was wrong. So strength is very, very important. Purity, of course, and finally the quality. In order to achieve GMP compliance, people have started putting excessive reliance on the various GMP audits. They only want approval for the facilities. They want license to operate, they want a license to supply. Once that is obtained, then complacency sets in. It's not a continuous process. Continuous monitoring is not there. So GMP at a certain stage became only need-based, risk-averse, and only inspection-oriented compliance for the certification part, which is really very wrong. And this is where we are going wrong. So what happens next? Consequences of not following GMP. Patient's health may be at risk. You will lose your compliance status. There will be a big impact on your manufacturing. Regulatory implications, of course, will be there, because if one regulatory agency declares you non-compliant, it is your responsibility to inform all the other regulatory agencies whose approval you have got. So all those agencies within a few weeks will land at your doorstep and will want to re-inspect you. Do you want that? No. So it's better to be compliant and remain compliant. The company's reputation, of course, will get into a jeopardy, and you can imagine how much financial losses one can come up to. So what are the essential parts of GMP? Protect the product from cross-contamination, prevent mix-ups, know what to do before you do it through your SOPs, document what really occurred, strive for consistency in your production. Management responsibility is a new thing which they have added as per the quality management systems. Management responsibility is key even as per ISO 9000 requirements, and management has to take complete responsibility for everything that is happening in the manufacturing side, and they want that management has periodic meetings with all the stakeholders so that they are made aware of what's happening and why it is happening. And finally, continuous improvement. This is something which US FDA really insists upon. If they have come and audited your facility a year back, and they are again coming after 2 years, they would like to see a presentation where you have made improvements and what improvements have been responsible for improving the overall quality requirements within the facility. So this is something which is now imposed upon. So what are the 10 golden rules of GMP? These are the 10 golden rules, but side by side, I have put the GMP documentation pyramid. Now you know why. Get the facility designed right from the start. We always believe that take maximum time to design and minimum to execute. So your project management should be really excellent so that when you're executing it, there's no doubt for any questioning, right? Document it. Validate process. Each and every process you need to validate, each and every equipment you need to validate, each and every area you need to validate, each and every facility you need to validate. And this is where my experience in India was recognized in Dubai. I was called upon for a plant startup. They created a fantastic plant, excellent facilities, superb machines. Didn't know how to start. And the regulators over there did not give them permission to manufacture even a single tablet. They said, get someone who is approved by them. And then I was called upon, we set up a team, we qualified the whole facility, we validated each and every process, including things like temperature controllers, HVAC systems, water system, environmental control systems, and the pharma machines. Each and every pharma machine, each and every area of the facility. All these things have to be first validated. And then the assumption was, once validated is done. No, sorry. You have to revalidate it. And you have to define your revalidation cycle. Once done, it's not enough. So everything has to be revalidated, and how do you, then the question comes, how do you decide what's the periodicity of revalidation? So for that you can take the expertise of the original manufacturer and supplier, or you can take it from your own experience. The data that you collect, the data is not just for collecting the data and storing it. You have to evaluate the data and see when the area or the equipment or the process is tending towards going out of control. That stage, or maybe a little bit before that, it's your requirement for evaluation. Yeah. So this is how we go. Once again, validation is very, very important. It was not there, I think, in our GMP, which is now being included, I'm told. Yeah, so complete validation, the whole validation exercise, how you do validation, what you do validation, apart from the complete process equipment, facility, you need to validate your product, you need to validate your analytical methods, you need to validate your stability, everything. Even during development, if I done stability studies and I say 3 years is the shelf life, on an ongoing basis, I have to revalidate that 3 years shelf life is really good enough, right? And that all validation data needs to be documented, write good procedures and follow them, documented, identify who does what, documented, train and develop staff, documented, even staff's training has to be documented, because any procedure carried out by any staff who's not trained for that particular procedure, that activity is null and void. So that again is very important. Say for example, we had an example where a person was handling an HPTLC and the auditor said, can you show his documents of training on HPTLC? And we had only training on HPLC available for him. All analysis that we had done on HPTLC cancelled. Yeah, so it's very, very important to document and train. Practice good hygiene. You all may laugh, but I don't know whether you have it over here or not. But on the doors of the washroom, do you have a log? Who's cleaned the washroom?
Yeah, we have.
We didn't have it earlier. This is a part of GMP to show that earlier when the auditors would come, they would first visit the washroom and they will say, we know what is going to be the facility upkeep based on how good your washrooms are. So,
We have as a part of housekeeping.
right. So it's good, it gets imbibed from here itself. So we have it in all our pharma plants.
Regularly have for information on the
Students, of course, faculty are aware. Time to time, on monthly basis, the labs where you work, we conduct audits. So we have dedicated faculty, Radhika madam and Zine sir, who do regularly our lab audits. So that little bit we are doing in little bit.
Nice to hear about that, because my maintain facilities and equipment, once again, it's simple, build quality into the whole product life cycle. We talked about that. And perform regular audits. One example, she already said that the faculty is doing audits. That's internal audit, right? They're insisting. Just 3 days back when USFDA was talking to us, they were insisting on doing internal audit, or what we call a self-audit. They say it's very important. And we have heard a lot of comments from external auditors saying, you all are using us as your quality assurance auditors, means you want us to come and audit your quality assurance systems, whether it's working well or not, which is wrong, and they feel bad about it. And that's where this self-audit or internal audit has come into picture, that each company has to do their own internal audits. Your internal audit findings can be kept confidential if you want to. When the external auditor asks, you can just say, sir, it's confidential, we would not like to show you, and they accept it. Some auditors don't accept it, they may insist upon it, but then it's your decision how you want to handle it. So that's what it is. Self-audit is very, very important criteria, which is now being instilled, again documented, have the required data for that. These are the regulatory observations, which companies have been getting. Look at them, such dirty ones. Repeated analysis of failing batches, which they label it as testing into compliance, meaning you keep on testing the batch till you get one passing result and you pass the batch. Sorry, not acceptable. The first time the batch fails, you have to investigate why the failure has happened. You have to find out what is the root cause of that failure. You may have to raise a CAPA, corrective and preventive action, and take the whole thing forward in that way. But they have seen many companies keeping on testing till they get a passing result. Audit trail data did not match data in printed chromatograms. How? I think some mismanagement is happening. use of integration suppression settings to minimize data that would likely cause an OS results. Very sad. So these were the many observations that I have listed, which are critical observations. 2 of them are from my facility, the yellow ones. The first one is the company did not implement effective computer systems control to ensure only authorized individuals had access to the systems. Now this is a big expression that they have put, but what had actually happened? We were going through our records, and he asked someone from the QA to show the records. He was showing it to him, and then suddenly said, "Can I look at this record? Just missed it." So he said, "Yes, sir." Finished. You cannot, through your password and through your user ID, you cannot allow access to anyone else. Because there's an audit trail happening in the background. If that person does anything wrong, it will come on you. So you should not, right? So this was a big observation. And see how the observation is written. They call it a turbo. This language is called a turbo. So they put it in this particular language, and this is something which is very important. We are innocent. I have stood up and I have fought for my person that yes, it's a fault, but that was the first time we had a completely paperless lab. If all data was being captured electronically, automated systems, and that guy fell into a trap. He got scared of the auditor and just allowed him access. The second one is failure to have software revision control over the life cycle and failure to have summary validation reports over the software life cycle. Such a long thing. 8 years back, the supplier changed the software version. He said, "This is an updated one." We said, "Yes, please come and install." He installed, we checked the system, we ran the system, everything running perfect, data matching, analysis matching, everything done. Sign off, he went. We said, "Sorry, you have to revalidate it. It's a new thing." So it's very important to validate the software in your system, validate the software with your computer, your system and your software, and validate the software with your product. Even analysis that we carry out as per pharmaceutical methods, just adopting that method is not enough. You have to check whether that method really works for your product. Your product may be a bit different, right? So be very careful. It's very important to keep on validating this additional other this thing were there. So then what happened? They came up with a new directive for the data that we are generating, because there were a lot of issues with the data. They were calling it data integrity. You must have heard. India, very bad on data integrity. Everyone has data integrity issues. These were the comments we were getting in those days. And you must be aware of that. So they came up with all these points that the data should be ALCOA, attributable, it should be legible, which is very simple, contemporaneous, meaning at the time the activity is done, it should be signed off and dated, which we never used to do. Our own shop floor production documents, it is 3 o'clock in the afternoon, still the document is at maybe 10 a.m. in the morning before he went for tea. After that, he has not filled it up, what activity has happened. So it's not contemporaneous at the way the activity is happening. This starts from the, sorry to say it, but college itself. When we are doing our own experiments, we are writing in rough notebooks all the values. We go home and we fare it up. And then it goes in the hands of the professor. He or she then takes it, keeps it for 1 week, 10 days, signs it off, and gives it. They said, and they asked, "Why do you do like this? Why do you need to write on rough papers, rough sheets?" We said, "So that our batch sheets and batch records are neat and clean." They said, "The dirtier the batch sheet, the better for us." And then once I went to audit and I saw the writing and all looks neat and clean, but the sheet per se appears dirty. So they put it in oven to make it a bit like, handle type of a document, but the document is new. To that extent things are happening, which is really wrong. Why do we need to do all that? It's a process, which is a standardized process, it's going to run smoothly. And everyone is hand in glove, starting from the person who is on the shop floor to the QA person, or to the manufacturing supervisor who is in charge, to the QA person who countersigns. Everyone is hand in glove. They will just take it in their cabins and finally sign it off, which is not acceptable. It should be contemporaneous. Original again is very clear. Accurate is again no errors to be there. And then they added 3 more. It should be complete, including the repeat analysis or reanalysis if it is performed. It should be consistent in terms of nomenclature, or if you are indexing it or you are giving it a code name, it should be consistent, and it should be enduring. That is, look here, recorded in the lab notebooks and or electronic media, not recorded on small sheets, post-it notes. And here once again we had an example, water systems, the engineering guys are managing and monitoring. Imagine engineering guys, although you train them on QMS and you train them on quality requirements, and they're not going to listen. We saw them writing values on the sleeve of their shirt. Why you are writing? Because we had electronic data management, no paper, paperless, no notebooks. So they were writing on the sleeves of the shirt. Now, what FDA told us, that if at all you find anything like this, you investigate, find the root cause, take corrective action, and if at all someone is really owning it up, reward them. So we said, chalo, let's practice this. So we called the first engineer. Why you are writing on this? No, madam is the We called the second one. Why are you writing? That guy said, madam, shall I tell you the truth? I said, yeah, that's what we are looking for. So he is saying, madam, the display of this particular data means it was the temperatures that they were recording. The display for that is in that corner. And it is like, 2 decimal display. And I have to come back, and on the softboard where entry is being made is quite a walk. So I forget by the time I reach over here. That's why I'm writing, so that it remains in my mind. Mere paas ye likha. I said, thank you so much for telling us. I said, what else? He's saying, it's written that every half an hour I need to take the reading. Why are you asking me to take reading every half an hour? It's not required. I said, thank you so much, we'll investigate. So what we found is, yes, what he's telling is correct. So we bought the display board very close to where they have to put in the data. And we evaluated the data. I said, don't just collect the data, you review it. We reviewed the data. There's no need to collect it every half an hour. This half an hour data was being collected when the plant was started. At that time, to validate it, we were collecting it. What is the need now? No one gave it a thought. So we evaluated the data. We saw that even after 2 hours, if you collect the data, it's fine. We rewarded that guy, and believe me, the plant culture improved like anything. People started coming back to us with various things. This is improvement, quality improvement, process improvement, rewarding the person who's brought up the issue, who's talked about it. No? So this is how, if you start building in the culture, things will really improve in the plant facility. So coming to electronic data management, they say if you are putting in quality management systems, you put in an electronic quality management system. We had one wherein you can track all your deviations, your document control, all your training records, change control if you have any, complaints, CAPA. Now we made this change that we will do only a half an hour. Now this change I can't do independently. You have to change your SOP. Once you are trying to change the SOP, you have to see how many departments are impacted by the SOP. So of course maintenance, and then QA has to be informed. So QA department, you have to train those department people on this SOP. And after doing all, and you have to take their feedback, impact assessment. QA may stand up and say, no, 2 hours is too big a gap, I want only in 1 hour. Then you can argue, and then decide what's the best time and implement that. So you have to take that feedback. You have to train people. Only then you can implement that SOP after training all the people who are associated with that SOP. That whole change control process has to be monitored. Now you may tell QA, you give me response within 1 week. Now QA may not give response within 1 week. This system will send reminder to QA. Hey, your week is over, you have to respond on this particular change control procedure which has been sent to you. No? So that's how these EQMSs are very, very helpful. So there are a lot of softwares available which can cover all these aspects. Not just that, Q4 I mentioned earlier, you need to do continuous improvement. So all the data which gets collected through EQMS will help you in your continuous improvement process. It will help you with your root cause analysis, impact analysis, the effectiveness of the corrective and preventive action that you have taken. You have to check whether it's effective or not. Not just that, you have to check whether it's sustainable or not. It may be effective today, you are happy it's done, but over 6 months you are not able to sustain on it. You have to report back. So all these things are, do you have CAPA? Are they corrective and preventive action? Any mistake that happens, any event that happens, you have to raise a corrective and preventive action. First you take corrective action immediately, put things in place, but you have to think long term. You may want to implement a preventive action, but whatever preventive action you have put in, you have to see to it that it's sustainable. I mean, each of these topics are so vast. It may take one hour to cover those topics. Coming to audits, very, very important. We talked of internal audit or self-audit. An audit will confirm that we did the right thing when no one was watching. This is culture of quality. Do the right thing when no one is watching. And they kept on saying this culture is not there in India. In India, we are so used to policing that we will not do the right thing if we are not being policed. Simple thing, examination is going on. Why do you need some person to supervise? Give your exam. Many a times if the supervisor is not there are chances people will cheat. And one classical case I think gets repeated in each of the sessions of culture of quality is traffic signal. That we stop at signals only because we know after the signal police is there. Once we are sure that after the turn police nahi rehta hai, you break the signal. Whereas you go abroad, even at 12 midnight, no traffic, still one car will be standing at the red signal. No one crossing the road, still they will stand. This is what is happening. And we ourselves will do this over there. And we ourselves will do this over there. Really sad. So be audit ready anytime, every time. If your systems are in place, you are following GMP, you're following cGMP, all your QAs is proper, do not be scared. And nowadays what the auditors do, they don't, earlier they used to pre-inform. Almost 1 month in advance you'll get a notice that they are coming for audit. Now US FDA has opened office in India. So they can come and they can stand at your doorstep anytime. So you should be audit ready anytime, every time. Still, when you first find out that you've got an inspection coming up, you're likely to feel it. Your heart starts pumping, your blood pressure goes up. Even though you are having everything in place. But it's bound to happen because the word external audit is really scary. So it does not stop at audits. Once the audit is done, they will give you deficiencies, what they have found, or audit report, what we call. You will have to reply to that particular audit report and not just reply to it. Follow-up actions are required. Many a times they expect that every 6 months you will give them a report, what you have done, how much you have done, what you have completed, before they give you a final approval of your facility. So most common audit findings, I've listed quite a few. Supplier verifications, very few companies audit and verify their suppliers. Deviations, computer systems validation and control, validation, environmental control, gaps in training, data integrity issue, very, very important. CAPA failures, I said just putting in CAPA is not enough. You have have to see to it that it is sustainable. Labeling errors, complaint handling, management reviews. We also discussed how management needs to be involved in the complete operations. Record keeping gaps. Records are not being kept properly. How can one address these issues? Continuously do self-inspections and internal audits. Follow the CAPA procedures meticulously. Be up to date and accurate in all your SOPs. Go digitalized as far as possible, because when the auditors enter and you tell them that you have complete digitalized systems, you are having electronic records, they themselves said that we get some confidence that things will not be wrong to that extent, and the audit will go a bit easy. This is my own personal experience also. Conduct prior investigation for each and every incident that has happened in the past. Maintain cleaning, sanitation, and maintenance of all facilities, equipments, records thoroughly. Perform environmental monitoring as appropriate to our pharma industry. This again is very important. We don't do it. We had missed out once again. Rat trap. We had it in our procedure that we'll be having rat traps placed at these locations, and those locations have to be marked in yellow, and you put a rat trap over there. 2 or 3 locations. I don't know why it's cleaning, someone had removed them, but really no one paid notice to it. They said, thought it's not very important, but we got an observation on that. And it's quite important, very important. This is something new which US FDA has introduced. Once they give you observation, they expect you to create quality matrices like this, where you will list down all the parameters against which they have given you an observation, and you will tell them how you will complete them, when you will complete them, and accordingly we used to do a color coding and submit this along with our it depends, they may ask you a quarterly report or 6-monthly report, you need to submit it. This is something new which US FDA has introduced, quality metrics. So the earlier, coming to culture of quality, I have a few very important for us. This is a lady, Janet Woodcock. She was ex-director of USFDA. She had come to India also, and in India also she spread the word around, and they were all talking of building culture of quality in India to improve upon our complete quality management system. So her final remark was, reliable drug quality occurring when organization and industry look beyond just the compliance, because earlier also I said that compliance is like people are just looking for approval of their facility and products, and start moving towards culture of quality. Now, we as a company got a bit irritated. We Indians are not bad. Why are they continuously telling us culture of quality, culture is bad? We requested USFDA for a meeting with us and told them, we want to talk to you about culture in India. Why this issue is happening. And I was the one who was presenting from India on our culture, and who's who of USFDA was there in that meeting. And this is the slide that we presented, our upbringing. Yeah? We are brought up in an atmosphere where we have to obey. We obey our parents when we are small, we obey our teachers in school, we obey our professors, we obey in-laws. When you go to work, what do? You obey your manager, right? You do what the manager tells. Even if the manager is wrong, will you stand up and contradict him? This is wrong culture. If the manager is wrong, stand up. Right? Even if your parents are wrong, talk to them. Even if your teachers, professors are not doing something right, talk to them. Right? So if you see something which is wrong happening, speak up. This is what they were telling us. Speak up. And they told us reward people who are speaking up. And that's what we did to that engineer who spoke up and told us, your system is at fault, these are the problems. Okay? So this is how improvement can be brought about. our culture is always to please. Yes sir, very good sir, fantastic. This is what our culture is, and we are a God-fearing nation. So please don't feel bad. Because I wouldn't like to state which company. I don't know whether you are aware. One company in Hyderabad did not allow FDA to walk in on a particular day for the audit. The auditors were there at the doorstep. The security informed the management. Auditors, he said, aadmi, tell them to come tomorrow, please. Kuch bhi karke. So they said, why are you not allowing us in? They said, no issues. What it was, Amavasya. It was Amavasya, and they didn't tell the auditors, and they felt something is wrong at the plant. They were suspicious. They went back and they gave them a warning letter. Next day they said, no sir, it's like Amavasya and bad day to enter, and that's why we are requesting sir, please sir. So they said, don't do it. Don't do it. They don't do it. So we said we are a God-fearing nation, and that's why probably communication, verbal and non-verbal. Verbal communication, they say we cannot understand the English that your people are talking. So we said India is a vast country, from north to south, east to west. We have people from 28 different states and 5 union territories. Each state has a different language, not just a different language, a different dialect of that same language. So there are chances that accent will differ. And you may not be able to understand them. Then I asked one silly question, but sir, even we don't understand. Yes. Many a times, even they come from different regions and their accent also is different. So we decided that if you don't understand, you ask again. Or you tell them to write and give. And one clear-cut example on which we got a 483 was a difference between filter and filtrate. They say, you do after filtering, you throw the filtrate? You say, filter sir, filtrate sir. No sir, yes sir. Ultimately he took it that after filtering he threw the filtrate. Then how did the analysis happen? A big observation. So these are the type of issues which come up. Don't get scared, huh? And I really appreciate if people with pharma background get into quality assurance. I think you have M-Pharm quality assurance, right? Yeah, that's the best thing. If we get people with pharma background into quality assurance, they'll understand these things the best. And non-verbal communication is like shaking of the head. Na? They say, like whether we are saying no or yes, it is something they never can understand. Mindset and behavior, again, we are used to policing. There are blurred lines in our communication. It's never a yes or a no straight. Yeah? It's always, I think so. It could be that way. No, but tell me whether it's yes or a no, just one answer. And then they get so scared that they blurt out, no. Not done? Okay. One more observation, So these are the things that's coming up. Lack of peer involvement and engagement. Many a times senior management does not get involved. They are there in their cabins. They don't know what's happening in the shop floor, and that's where they've come up with management requirement to be involved. Domestic versus global experience. It makes a big difference. If you have worked in Indian companies and you have worked in multinationals, it makes a big difference. Big cultural difference, big difference with respect to policies and procedures and how things are being managed and taken forward. Fear. People are replaceable. Anything going wrong, fear of job going out. Fear of change. It's always there in everyone's mind. Superstition. They didn't allow the FDA to enter. And fear of inspections. I said that. It is always there. Whatever you do, however good you are, the moment happens, no? The moment the inspector is at your doorstep, there is always this fear of inspection. Sorry. Yeah. And these are the factors which are especially unique to India. Socio-economic and human factors. You see this, yeah? We are traveling in such crowd, wearing slippers, and then suddenly you are expected to come into a facility which is spotlessly clean. You're expected to wash your feet, change shoe covers, and all. It's a total transformation from what's happening outside to what happens when you're coming within the facility. Communication style abroad is always straight. Facts are facts, they're put down straight to you. Whereas we have this zigzag way of communicating. We are too scared to give the facts straight. Hierarchical culture and with fear of failure, which is there, I think, more in our culture. Because if I lose my job, I go home, what will my parents say? There they don't bother. If I don't have a job today, tomorrow I'll get another one. Or they have unemployment benefits. We don't have. So of course, fear of losing a job will always be there. Domestic versus export quality. There's a difference in the quality in India. Still it is there. People have two sets of specifications. One for domestic, one for export. Not right. People are the same across the world. Have one set of specifications, or don't go for export, or don't make for domestic. We took a serious stand. We will not make for domestic market. We don't want two set of specifications. We were only making for exports. We are an export-oriented unit. And finally, regulatory integrity. This is a very brief on the quality culture enhancements, the pillars of quality culture. So to summarize, practice continuous cGMP compliance, not one time. Continuous cGMP compliance, validate all that you do, digitize as far as possible data and documents, concentrate on periodic audits to keep yourself up to date, and imbibe a culture of quality. Yeah. So I come to my last slide. Our chairman, Mr. Ajit Singh, says, don't have a thank you slide. So on all my last slides, I put the India flag. Let's keep the India flag flying high. We need to maintain this status. This program is one of the reasons to keep our status high. Oops, sorry. Okay, the other 2 points were, it's fine. The other 2 points were, we started with Make in India. So we got Yeah. So we got to a point to Make in India. So we got companies to come here in India and invest. I started Apotex in India, of which I was the CEO. I started IVAX in India, which is now taken over by Teva. Right? Now it is innovative. Yeah, so we need to move further to that. So happy innovations to all of you all, and keep the culture of quality of India high. Let's keep our flag flying high. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. You have not only shared valuable insight with us, but also left us with a food for thought. Now, I would like to request Dr. Sujata ma'am to give token of appreciation to Dr. Parita Echidana ma'am.
That's the way we got a sense from her profound experience on the shop floor. That is what we said. And the next speaker will also it will be an interesting session to all of us.
Let us carry the knowledge we have received from this speech as we move forward. As we continue this journey of knowledge and inspiration, it is now our privilege to introduce another esteemed guest who has joined us today, Dr. Raju Desai sir, who holds PhD from ICT Mumbai in pharmaceutical chemistry, then postgraduate degree in business management from NMS. Dr. Raju Desai is a senior technical advisor, quality and regulatory. Dr. Raju Desai sir is a senior technical advisor, quality and regulatory at the Indian Pharmaceutical Alliance. This organization represents the top 25 pharma companies in India. IPA represents these 25 companies at the various forum of Indian government health ministries, regulatory agency of India and regulatory agencies across the world. IPA is also involved in a competitive building and initiatives, technology advancement and compliance awareness for the Indian pharma industry. Dr. Rajiv Desai sir also supports the pharma industry in a personal capacity as a freelancing consultant for the pharmaceutical industry. He has around 36 years of experience in pharmaceutical industry. His experience spread across the basic research, technology transfer, quality management and regulatory affairs. Prior to joining IPA, he superannuated in June 2022 for Lupin as Executive Vice President Global Quality, where he was responsible for quality management of API, formulation, biotech manufacturing facilities and development. In his previous assignment, he has worked as a head of corporate quality management at Dr. Reddy's, Mylan, Piramal and Alembic Pharmaceutical. He started his career with Novartis in R&D and technology transfer with assignments in India and Switzerland. He was a member of the US Pharmacopoeia Expert Committee between 2010 and 2015. Currently, he is nominated for expert member at the Indian Pharmacopoeia. Variety of departments and organizations invite them to deliver lectures at various international and national scientific forums. Currently, he is visiting faculty at NMIMS Mumbai and MS University Vadodara for the graduation courses. Now, I would like to request Dr. Rajiv Desai sir to share his valuable thoughts with us.
Thank you so much. I think Dr. Parizad made my work easy because most of the things she covered so nicely. So for me it's easy. But I'll just give you some more dimensions, some examples. And thanks Professor Sujata Madam for inviting us. It's always a pleasure to speak to the students. And this is a university institute which always encourages people from the industry to come and talk. And I was personally privileged to be a student of this institute several years back. I did my MBA here after my PhD, and that time it's here this side, right? Idhar, samne. Okay, the glass building. Now you call it the glass building. There was no glass building at that time. It was a very small building, and this was BNCP College. And we did MBA. I did actually a 3 years part-time MBA, which was at that time Mumbai University. But now it's a deemed university. But you still continue to have very strong affiliation, and also the education level has definitely gone up. So to start with, I think this particular initiative of talking about cGMP Day is a good exercise, good initiative by the ECI and the IDMA to make the students aware of it. Of course, to also nurture the culture of compliance in the industry. So in our industry, as what Dr. Parijat said, that we want to ensure that people are aware of the requirement. It's a requirement that it's a discipline to be followed. But what I'll try to touch upon is what exactly are the takeaways for the students, because as we know that all of you are aspiring to join the industry, and for you to start with, I think Dr. Parijat did touch upon that, but we'll talk a little bit about those areas also, so that once you are entering the industry, I think I've spoken several times to the students who I take lectures also, that the lectures that are taken here, the theory that is taught at your place okay, continues to be of utmost importance. Okay, don't forget that. We require that you should be absolutely perfect with your basics. What we do is just a little bit of layer of practicality. So if you are learning, say anything about spectroscopy, stereochemistry, chromatography, use the same, but we do it in a different manner. So if you understand that theory, it becomes very easy for you to really understand the working of those instruments and the techniques also. So don't forget that theory is important, but a little bit of experience from our side helps you to make sure that you get a chance to understand what we're doing. So just to give an idea, I think this is what, to start with, I'll give you about a brief about what exactly is the pharma industry. So we are the largest manufacturer of generic pharmaceuticals. I'm sure that all of you know what's generic. We have still not innovated anything. Okay, a lot of effort is gone, but it takes a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of patience. We haven't done that. But what we have done is we took advantage of that innovation and the expiry period of the patent and tried to make the same product in a retrofitting the same chemistry and trying to bring in the generic. So that's what we are good at. So in the whole process, we are one of the largest supplier of generic molecules products, and almost 50% of the requirement is from India. Okay, and 40% of generics goes from India to USA. That's the kind of power that we have. 25% of it is for the UK, and the reason is we have the largest pool of scientists and technicians over here because we understand the requirement, we understand the engineers are there, the chemists are there, pharmacists are there. And antiretrovirals, HIV drugs, 80% of that is made in India for the entire world. I mean, we know that the vaccines was also one of the examples that we supply to the entire world. We are the third largest in terms of volume and 14th largest in terms of value. We have contributed a large to the global healthcare by ensuring high quality, affordable. See, we didn't compromise on the quality at that time also because we ensured that what is required for the global market, we were able to meet it and we are able to meet it. Okay, the pharmaceutical exports of India reached almost 200 nations, and that is what is the power that we carry. And we are able to make sure that the products are sold in USA, Western Europe, Japan, and Australia. So these are big markets for us and very important markets for us. And that's the reason why we are called as a pharmacy of the world. So what's the future? See, when you talk about any educational stream, what we look at is which is the one which is going to give you career options. And chemicals, pharmaceuticals is the one that is not going to die. Okay, and that's where you see that the pharmaceutical industry is expected to grow to 100 billion by 2025, and the medical device is expected to grow by almost 25 billion also. Now we are also talking about biotechnology. This is something which is going up, but it's in the nascent phase. It is still growing, but the chemistry, the fermentation chemistry still continues. The regular formulations that we're talking about, tablets, capsules, ointments, injections, they will continue. But there are different technologies that are coming up which are going to rule the world. The domestic pharmaceutical market is also going a big change. It's now at almost like 1,40,000 crore, but it is going to go up in the next couple of years' time. And we are definitely going to have a large exports of products. And we export both the bulk drugs, intermediates, drug formulations, biotechnologies, and herbal. So that's our expertise. So on this day, okay, as part of the pharmaceutical industry, we pledge and commit to have a proactive approach for current good manufacturing practices to ensure that the manufacturing is done. So this is what is for the pharmaceutical industry. Okay, and we said that okay, let the pharmaceutical industry understand and be aware of the requirement, and it's our responsibility to demonstrate the strong value-based commitment to adherence to GMP. Okay, so this is what the whole process started for the GMP day. It's not only a day in a year; it should continue. Okay, and we heard just now that it is not for one particular day, it should continue and it should be a continuous culture for us. So why it is important? Okay, As a manufacturer of any medicine, it's important that we provide high quality products to the patients. Minimize risk. We heard about it, risk involved in the pharmaceutical manufacturing. It can be anything. You buy inferior raw materials, you have inferior equipment, you have inferior process. Untrained people, there's a risk to the product. Minimize cross-contamination. In our kind of facility, we use multi-purpose plant. What does it mean? That we don't have a dedicated plant. We have the same equipment being used for different products. So if you make say 10 batches of a product, after 10 batches you want to switch over. First you have to clean it. The cleaning is important. The cleaning is important to the level that it doesn't contaminate the next product. And that is what the contamination is all about. And it's more important that it may be not detected in the finished product that you are analyzing. Okay. And last but not the least, avoiding mix-up. Mixing of labels. Okay, which is the biggest danger that we carry. I have 2 boxes. I change the label by mistake, and you can imagine what havoc it can create to the medicines. So what is the importance to the patient? Okay, we talked about the quality and the issue for the manufacturers. What is the issue? All individual units, the tablets, capsules are not tested. We make a bulk and just take a sample, right? We make say 1 lakh tablets, we take a couple of tablets, you do the analysis and say that because this is passing, rest is passing. Okay, that's the way we do it. So you can imagine that how dangerous it is that you are relying on one particular analysis. Say for example, we have say 400 kilos of API. You just take 1 gram, do the analysis and say that if this 1 gram is passing, this 400 kilos is passing. So that's the danger for the consumers are not able to assess the quality. What do they see? They look at the label. हाँ ये किसका है Glaxo का है, ये किसका है Johnson Johnson. हाँ ठीक है. So that bharosa that they carry is because of the label of the company. Okay, so they don't have HPLC GC at their homes to analyze the material, to analyze the products. So that's the consumer is at risk. The consumers have less choice for medicines made by the manufacturers. What do they do? We go to the doctor prescribes. Of course, there was a step taken recently, but it's all gone now. The doctor will prescribe a medicine and say that, okay, this is what you have to buy. Normally, you don't have a choice. You have to buy that medicine. Most important, if there's a low dose or high dose, that can have impact on the patient also. It can also affect the economy of the customers. It can affect the not of standard quality of the medicines, which can affect the reputation of the company which is making it. And as it's already said, quality cannot be assessed by only testing the product. It has to be built into the product. That's very important. And that's where the GMP concept came in. So, as the name suggests, it's a practice. Okay, good manufacturing practice. So, the how part of the practice is known. The why part is not known. Okay, ये करना है. क्यों करना है मालूम नहीं. So we just follow blindly. Okay, and practices are followed by tradition, my comfort level, and the necessity, and it is not necessarily backed by the scientific reasoning. I do it because I've been doing it for the last several years. I do it because somebody has done it in the past. Okay, but why? As Dr. Parizad very rightly said, that it's a culture, not to ask. We do it because तूने बोला ना मैंने कर लिया. लेकिन पूछो क्यों करना है? So that question will definitely make sure that your GMP is followed. Okay, it's not about just practice, good manufacturing practice. It's about why it is done, and that why will come up. Okay, only when your basic is fitting. Right? Simple example. If you're doing a HPLC analysis, you take a column, you take a mobile case, you make a sample, you run it. Okay, you set the detector at say 254 nanometers. Kar liya. Why? Why the mobile face is that? Why the column was done? See, unless you have the basic understanding, what happens in the column, what happens in the separation, what happens in the detector, you should know. And this is taught in the colleges. Okay, I really salute the college professors and staff for teaching this. But unfortunately, at that time, it's very difficult to imagine. Okay, I can understand the agony and pain of the students that they're not able to imagine what goes on because you see everything on the blackboard, but you don't know what it actually means. The only thing that you would have seen as a chromatography is the ascending chromatography and the descending chromatography. Correct? Okay, we do the same thing, but it is not ascending, descending, it goes this way also. Okay, but unless you understood the basics of that, you'll not be able to understand what goes. So what we have is, we have high advanced computers behind it. We have softwares to handle it. Okay, but unless I know what to program, what to configure, I would not know कि ऊपर से नीचे तक चलता क्या है. So at times when we do these trainings at our companies also, I sometimes go to the lab and make a person stand and I say, oh, you are handling HPLC. Can you explain me where is the column, where is the mobile phase, where is the director? नहीं मालूम. Because वो कभी देखा ही नहीं है ना. हाँ, इससे बोला किसी ने बोला इसको ऐसे करना है, बस कर रहा है वो. So unless you have that theoretical background, it's very difficult to understand the how part of it. Okay, and that is what is missing. So make sure that whatever you are doing, your theory is very important now. This is the time, all of you are in college. Okay, don't miss out this. This will create a base for you when you go in the industry. And that you will always remember. Because if you disconnect from here and say, ठीक है इसको ऑप्शन में डाल दिया, ठीक है ऑप्शन में डाल सकते हैं, लेकिन समझने की कोशिश करो. Everything that you do, 60, 70 years back, chromatography, spectroscopy all started. Okay, it still continues. Maybe there's something additional being added, but if you know what is the background, you'll be able to really appreciate what is coming up as an advancement. So please don't forget the basics. That's what I would tell you and urge. So the GMP regulations were introduced to ensure quality during the manufacturing. However, most of it was reactive and to deal with tragedies. Okay, and all these regulations are, okay, you have an issue somewhere, somebody died, okay, what happened? Oh, the analysis of that particular raw material was not done correctly. Okay, bring in some legislation. Okay, somebody did not do the analysis properly, or bring in some rules. So this was all reactive. Something went wrong, but we haven't gone into the details. Now we're talking about the refinement in the two major documents that we have. We heard about it. The Drugs and Cosmetic Act. What is it called? The Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940. It still continues like that. कितने साल हो गए? 80 years. It still continues. People tried. Okay, people tried to make changes, कुछ, लेकिन हुआ नहीं. अभी भी वो 1940 का लेबल अभी भी चालू है. There's a lot of initiative. Some companies, some people, some bureaucrats will say, चलता है ना, चलने दो ना. हम लोग करेंगे. हमारे लिए क्या है? इंडिया में क्या है? तुम वो अभी we heard ICH guidelines है, US FDA है, TGA है, MHRA है. उनको जो चाहिए हम लोग बना सकते हैं. हमको क्या करने का इंडिया में? हमारा दुकान चल रहा है ना, 1940 के रूल से चलने दो. Okay, and that is what happened. If you read this document, it's a 600-page document. More than 600-page document, the Drugs and Cosmetic Act. Okay, very well written for that time. 1940 के लिए बहुत अच्छे से लिखा था. It was a landmark document. Okay, that time even some of the regulated countries didn't have a document. At that time we had it, but we didn't change. Some of the clauses which are so strong that they are picked up by many of the regulatory agencies, but we are stuck there. There is an initiative to make changes. Okay, now we see a lot of momentum. The current government, I will not talk about politics, but it's a requirement. Okay, when you talk about medicines, when you talk about healthcare, there should not be differentiation. No? Why should we say that you are making products for the US market and the Europe market, and you make all the best quality, but for India you, of course, we don't want to go into the Jan Aushadhi shops also, the generic version. ₹80 का या ₹100 का टैबलेट आपको 20 में मिल रहा है. Oh, 70% discount, 80% discount, at what cost? It's again compromising on the quality. So what we are saying as an industry to the government, please don't fool the people. People want good quality medicines. People want to improve their lifestyle. How many of you have heard about this Vande Bharat Express? How many of you have traveled? Many of you would have seen. At least photo there dekha? Okay. So why were they started? What is the need? है ना अपने पास चल रहा है ना ट्रेन से, लोकल ट्रेन से, जनता ट्रेन से, but still we want to improvise safety. You know, we want to ensure. What is important is that the tickets would be slightly on a marginal higher cost. But what is surprising to see is when I traveled recently also, I find that even people who otherwise would look not so very, rich, they carry young kids, they carry with them old people. They want to ensure that the safety of their near ones and dear ones should be not compromised. साल में एक बार जाते हैं ना तो ठीक से जाएंगे. Okay, we'll just stretch ourselves. Why should you make our kids and the old people to travel in that rush and in that cramped trains? Let us spend some money. And you can imagine that people are spending money because they want value of money, they want to improve their lifestyle. Same thing applies to medicines. Okay, we are still not having a very strong legislation or act. ये तो है, बहुत अच्छा है ये. अगर आप 600 पेज पढ़ेंगे इसमें बहुत अच्छा दिखा है. But it is not being followed. It's not followed. हमारे तो कुछ भी चलता है ना. You stand in front of a chemist shop, you see a poor person coming. वो बोलेगा अरे मेरा ना पेट में दुख रहा है, कुछ गोली दे दो. So the chemist becomes a doctor. Correct? Who wants to go to doctor? और डॉक्टर 50 रुपए लेगा, 100 रुपए लेगा, उसको 100 रुपए देने का, इधर आके 200 20 रुपए का गोली देगा, उसको भी पूछने का ना, ये 20 रुपए गोली देगा, तो बेचारा देता है ये लोग 20 रुपए का. इससे सस्ता वाला है क्या? See, this is the way it happens. Okay, अच्छा सस्ता वाला ना, हाँ ये लो 5 रुपए वाला भी है. He does not know the importance of this medicines. That is what happens. So we don't have that strong legislation. We don't have that, and that is where, in spite of having such things, we continue to hold that kind of act for so long. Now there is a need to make sure. Now the other one is we have the Schedule M. Schedule M is part of the Drugs and Cosmetic Act, and this is where you talk about the good manufacturing practices in India. Again, a very strong document, beautiful document. You follow word by word, perfect. But nobody follows. Okay, and वो भी चलता है, इधर क्या चलता है एटीट्यूड ना, तो चल जाता है. डॉक्यूमेंट तो है, लॉस तो है. So this is what happens. But now it has not been changed. Okay, it continues the way it was there, and we want to make change. The current government wants to make these changes. What they've done is they want the bureaucrats, the industry experts, the academicians to come together and ensure that this act and this Schedule M gets changed. And that is what has started now. In fact, for the last 2 years, it so happened that 2 years back, or last year only, it happened, and we were almost like having a draft which was called as the Drugs and Cosmetic Act 2022. Okay, we said okay, अभी दिसंबर तक आ जाएगा. दिसंबर निकल गया, 23 आ गया. अभी उसका चेंज होकर 2023 हो गया. Okay, so it is still in the discussion whether to do it or not, because we are trying to make sure that it is matching to the international guideline. Okay, somebody says this में ये ऐड करना चाहिए. So there is a lot of discussion happening. Now we are close to the end of 23. Okay, what would have happened is Drugs and Cosmetic Act 2023 may appear at 2024, because it has, in fact, 3-4 months back was about to get tabled in the parliament, but because of some other political priorities, it got sidelined. Okay, and hopefully next year, at least first quarter of next year, will be able to see Drugs and Cosmetic Act 2024. And along with that, the schedule is also getting. We'll talk about it, what is coming up. Of course, Dr. Parijal also mentioned about what is coming up, a little bit of it, that's what I'll try to say. Okay, so we said that quality as a tradition determined by testing that assured compliance only with agreed specification could not assure safety and efficacy. So testing at the end, you do whatever you want, you do the testing, pass or the pass हुआ, नहीं हुआ तो वापस reanalysis करो, but that is not true. Due to inherent limitations of the methods of analysis, something that was inadvertently present in the product could not be tested. I'm sure that you know that method development and validation. Okay, we know about it. How is the method development and validation done? Okay, you have a product to be analyzed. You look at what is used as an ingredient, what goes as a raw material, and accordingly decide the method of analysis. Right? That is how the method of analysis is designed. Then you validate. Of course, the validation, we don't want to go into it. There's a couple of parameters that need to be done so that you ensure that the method is worth it. Now, when your process is not constant, process is compromised, the impurities which come in have not been evaluated in the method. So that method will not work. If the raw material is A, B, C, okay, and you get a product D, you ensure that the product D is capable of analyzing all the starting materials A, B, C in that as an impurity. But if the starting material is containing R, S, T, the method is not capable. Okay, so you have to ensure that at every stage, that's what they say, quality should be inspected at every stage. It should not be inspected at the end. That is what it is all about. So what does it need to revise? What does it need to revise is so-called Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940. Advancement in scientific and technology have led to development of new drugs and cosmetics that were not envisaged when the original act was drafted. Now you have devices. At that time we were only used to tablets and capsules and injections. That was the only one. Okay, but now you have patches. You have different kinds of administration, different kinds of methodology of administering drugs. We never thought about it. The regulations of the other countries are ever evolving. They have kept in time with those guidelines and ensured that they are taking care. Our guideline was not taking care of those things. So that was a requirement. Revisions are required to update to ensure that the regulation keeps pace with the industry innovations, so that the regulators are also aware of it. We do a lot of innovation in the industry. A lot of good work is done in the colleges and institutes. That has been brought in the industry, but the regulators are 1940 ka act leke baithe hai log. Based on the knowledge of safety and efficacy standards of the drugs, it is necessary to update the regulations to ensure that the product into the market meet current safety and quality standards. So you should have the people who are doing the analysis and the review are updated with the requirements. Pharmaceutical and cosmetic industry is increasingly globalized. It is essential that Indian regulations are aligned to the industry standards, which we are doing anyway. We are selling the products to US, we follow the norms. We perfectly manage the requirement. Absolutely. You talk about USFDA guidelines, you talk about ICH, absolutely every company is able to do that. 40-60% of products that go from here, we meet the requirement. But we are totally segregated when it comes to India. Revision in the Act will help authority with the legal tools to tackle challenges and issues such as counterfeit. This is a major issue for us. In India, you go to the rural area, lot of counterfeit. You're just not able to get the genuine medicines. How would you know that it's a chalk powder or excipient or a starch made as a tablet and called as paracetamol? गोली तो खा लिया, 10 गोली खाए कुछ हुआ नहीं. So we are looking at how to tackle this. So there are ways. So the tablet, now you know that each and every tablet, पहले क्या था? The 10 tablet का strip था, नीचे आता था expiry date, manufacturer's name and the product name. वो कट कर देगा तुमको, क्या मालूम पड़ा कौन सा tablet है? So now there's a need to have each and every tablet to have a QR code. Now you're familiar with QR code, right? कितना everywhere you go, there's a QR code. So this technology is not built in that drugs and cosmetic act. So we are trying to build in those kind of things. दुनिया बहुत आगे निकल गई, हम लोग बहुत पीछे हैं. Okay, so these technologies now you people are familiar with. Okay, everywhere you use so much of technology, but our guidelines and regulations are still behind. Online sales. कभी मालूम था कभी online sales हो सकता है? Okay, now there's so much of online sale. Can you regularize it? Then you have public crisis like pandemic. How much of suffering we had in the couple of years' time. But those are things that need to be tackled. Do we have guidelines for that? No, we don't have it. Protecting the interest of the consumer is a primary goal of the Act. As consumer expectations change and concerns about safety, it's important that legislations will be necessary to enhance the customer's protection. That's customer in the patient center. Revisions will be required to improve efficacy, effectiveness, and streamlining regulatory process, reduce bureaucracy, and make it easier for companies to comply with the regulations. So that you can come in with technology, you can come in with new ideas, and ensure that you have the best of products. India will need to enter an international agreement on the convention with pharmaceutical and cosmetic industry. Compliance with this agreement will necessitate the changes in domestic laws, regulations, including drugs and cosmetic act. Because if you are going to be global, if you say that you are going to make products, then it's very important that you align with the guidelines of the world. And that is the biggest challenge. So what is the challenge right now? In the current Drugs and Cosmetic Act, I'm sure that as part of your process, you should also keep on looking at it, what needs to be done. And this is what has been found. Medical devices was considered as a drug. Okay. No specific provision for clinical studies. Okay. No specific provision for accelerated approval of drugs. There's a process, no? You are making something, why can't you do? Unless you do this, unless you do this, unless you do this. In the overseas world, you are allowed to do some accelerated approvals because then only you'll be able to give the patients the right medicines. No provision for online pharmacy regulations. Of course, it was not there. Now it is there. Bring in. No mention of. I'm sure that you have heard about this. Like, हमारे इसमें तो है ही नहीं. There's nothing concept of orphan drugs, clinical trials, clinical research. कुछ है ही नहीं इसमें. Which is so very common. As part of your studies, you are able to study this from your overseas guidelines, but it is not there. No provision of police protection during inspection. See, you must have seen this demolition happening. किधर ये unauthorized construction है. So the municipality go, okay, they're allowed to take a police protection. The same thing should happen when a drug inspector goes to an industry and says that, okay, you are into it. They are not allowed to carry products with them. Because it's such a, and there are cases that they have been beaten. The drug inspectors have been beaten, okay, by the mafias of the pharma industry who are there to only earn money. Okay, and this was not there. That's coming up now. GMP, GDP never was part of the schedule. Okay. Now, what happened is, when the process started 2 years back, the pharmacy, Department of Pharmacy, under the Department of Chemicals and Fertilizers, they said, now we are in the process of changing. Immediately, everybody, right from industry, academics, and journal people also, saying that, okay, we'll give you our ideas. You won't believe, there were 9,000 comments and suggestions which came up. I was there in a meeting recently at Delhi, where we are part of this revision, and this is what I was told, that each and every suggestion has been taken note of. Each and every. Okay. They have made sure that every suggestion is bucketed so that they make changes. Government departments have given the maximum suggestion because there are related departments. So pharmacy ho gaya, then chemicals ho gaya, then there's a legal department, there's a exports department. So every department has given suggestions which they said should be incorporated in the Drugs and Cosmetic Act. Okay. And the departments of pharmaceutical, Niti Aayog, I'm sure that you know, this is one of the best departments that the country has now. Department of Health and Research, several associations like IDMA, IPA, BDMA, they have suggested because they are associated with so many companies, pharma companies and individuals also. and what is coming up, if all the suggestions are made. I was looking at the recent draft which has been published, and I was also part of that. We compiled some of the suggestions, and say if we are given say about 200 suggestions, at least 40% have been accepted. Okay, which means that it's a good thing. Some of the things that came up for some people were like, okay, if somebody finds a drug which is not of good quality, don't penalize the owner. How can it be possible? I mean, somebody gave an idea. Okay, you give us some, say we pay some penalty, and you don't put the owner in jail. Okay, don't give a legal thing. So that is something that people were trying to look at. So the government said nothing doing. We have to ensure that they get the right legal treatment what is required. But we are happy that most of the technical part has been taken care of, and we'll see the best of guideline which is coming up and the act which is coming up in the next couple of months' time. So what is happening? The existing Drugs and Cosmetic Act has 5 chapters. The new one is proposed, it's going down now, but there's one more chapter or chapter 8 also. But what's important is that the medical testing labs are being refined now. Okay, they're going to be the best of class. In the pharma industry, if you go, we have one of the best labs that you can think about anywhere in the world. Okay, the instruments that we have are the best. But the government labs are not to that extent. The government has funds, but it is not channelized to the right manner. That's the problem. What is important? The import, manufacture, sale and distribution clinical trials is coming up now. And most important is import, manufacture, sale, distribution of medical device, which was never there earlier. There's a separate chapter which is coming up of medical devices, because the medical treatment, the drugs administration is going to make a sea change now. Okay, it's not going to be conventional tablets, capsules, injection and ointments and your other things which are used to, but it will be a totally different thing. So they should get accommodated. That's what is the new guideline coming up. Now, what is another thing which is happening is, there's a post of drugs, medical device and controller general. Now it is called as a drug controller, DCGI. Okay, so this is going to be like he's going to be like a medical device person. So either they will create 2 positions, or the same position will have 2 different responsibilities. Second is medical device will be dealt separately. As I said, there's a separate chapter coming up for the medical device. Create a post of medical device officer apart from the existing drug controller. So what's happening is, the current drug controller may come from people who have done a pharmacy education. M.Pharm student can appear for exam, but the new inspectors would be engineers. Okay, device, right? So that is what is coming up. The device people, inspectors will be coming from the engineering background, which was never the case in the past. Separate medical device. So you'll have a separate device testing lab and medical. So that is where the government is saying that let us take the advantage of the expertise from the industry. We have the industry expertise, why don't we bring in that? Enable digital interventions for research data management. We heard about it. So this is what, the QR codes and the barcodes and everything will come up. Okay. The best example is our Aadhaar card, right? So we have the technology, we have the expertise. Why don't you bring in the pharma industry? Details to be provided to educate authority, bioequivalent studies and bioavailability studies, which was never there. That's again coming up. Not for of standard quality for drugs and adulterated cosmetics. So recalls was never there. I'll give a small example. Most of you are aware of this nitrosamines, right? Nitrosamine. It was a big issue. It started about 4 years back, and companies like us, I used to work for Lupin, and all the big companies, we sell products to the US market and Europe market. So we started looking at it, and we found that, that valsartans and all those sartans were in that category. Yeah. So we realized, and coincidentally, the company that I was working, Lupin, we used to make products for both US and India. And as we know, that because there's a different pharmacopy of India, we have to manage the pharmacopy of India. US pharmacopy, we have to manage the pharmacopy, or it is the standards are different. The process remains same. for us. Okay, we didn't differentiate. As you rightly said, we never differentiated. So when we found that some of the products that we made or some of the products that were sold in US had nitrosamine, what we did, we stopped manufacturing. We recalled the batches from USA because USA has a legislation. US has a rule that the moment you find something of that which is not recognized, you recall. I did the same thing for the India market also. Okay, because I was head of quality, I told my MD, I said, see, we are making the same product. Part of it goes to India, part of it goes to USA. Even though it is made in different places, we analyzed and found that even that process is generating nitrosamine. I said, go ahead. 60 batches we recalled. Okay. There is no rule and regulations around recalls. You won't believe, one drug inspector, अरे काय को रिकॉल कर रहा है यार? मैं बोला कि नाइट्रोसामाइन का इशू इंडिया के पेशेंट्स के लिए उतना ही डिफिकल्ट है जितना यूएस के लोगों के लिए है. One fine day, see, no further discussions. अच्छा तुम्हारा डिसीजन हो, तुम ठीक है, बड़ा कंपनी है, तुमको क्या रिकॉल कर सकते हैं? अरे एथिक्स जो बात करते हैं ना, एथिक्स है. We are talking about patients. We never compromise on that. So that is what happens in the big companies. We don't compromise on those things. If you feel that there's something wrong, it's wrong for every patient. Patient is patient. We did that. And as you know, that whenever there's a recall for any US market, there's a big article coming up. This particular company recalled, that particular company recalled, and all those things. And we get bombarded with all these reporters who come in. So most of the times when there is something of this kind, we recalled one product in USA. One very senior reporter from very reputed channel called me up saying that I want to take your interview. I said, okay, come over. So tell us what happened, how did you recall, all the story started. He wanted to create an article and a big story in that. I said, hold on, do you know that we have recalled the same product in India also? He said, no. I said, see, this is what you should write. If you are doing it for USA, we also recalled. Because there is no news. Nobody knew that we are recalled. There is no legislation. Okay, now that legislation is coming up. Okay, because patient is important. But many companies who are really ethical, irrespective of the rules and regulations, they have made sure that the patient is protected. And that is what we talk about ethics. Okay. The Act will have features of growth of domestic industry, increase in exports, and Innovation Act will support digital tools, as we said, device for the drugs development and manufacturing, promote ease of doing business, and Act will be planned to take care of the next 50 years of pharma development technology. So that is what, and this is what Mr. Narendra Modi has said. अब आज का मत देखो, अगले 50 साल का देखो. Okay, write your documents, write your act in such a way that it takes care of that. You write a statement in such a way that it is not binded. You say if there's something new coming up, it should get immediately activated. Otherwise, वो चलता रहेगा. और ऐसे ही 1940 का लेबल लगा ना, अभी भी चलता है. So this is what they want. They are talking about, and the government, we should really appreciate that we are not only talking about political, popularity here. We're talking about the people and the citizens of the country. And why? We deserve it. Don't you think that we should not be differentiated between India, US or Europe or Australia? Why? We should have that. Because we are making medicines for the other countries, we meet the requirement. What stops us not giving the same quality of medicines to the Indian public? That's what is important. Schedule M has been also updated to the international standards. Awareness workshops are being conducted. So that's the best part of it. We attended some programs that they're conducting and trying to give some inputs about what's happening in the Schedule M, what are the new things that are coming up. And there's a lot of excitement in the whole process that the industry wants it to happen because it's long due for updation. Okay, so what is coming up? The pharmaceutical quality, I don't want to get well into it, it's already discussed. Responsible manufacturer, senior management has to be responsible, product and process knowledge, input material approval, and production release as per the license and other. So this is what will come up, which was not there in the past. quality risk management, assessment, control, communication, and review of risk. Everything that you do, you should evaluate what is the risk involved. If you take a raw material, if it is not okay, what will happen? If it is not available, what will happen? So keep on asking why, how. So that is what we talk about, the risk management. And the pharma industry is there. Product quality review, starting material, critical in process, investigations. If there's a failure, just don't wind up things. You have to ensure that you have to find the real reason for the failure. Review of the complaints, qualification status, product quality review should be done annually, technical agreements and updates. So these are things that are required to ensure that the products are correctly handled. What is additional done? Sanitation covers personal premises, equipment, production, which was not there in the past. Validation, premises, utilities and equipment. Qualification, again, premises, utilities, and I hope you are aware of this. What is it?
Operational qualification.
There's one more thing before this.
Installation qualification.
Anything before this?
URS.
DQ?
URS.
Correct. So the URS starts and this is how it goes. Correct? So the process qualification is very important. Every equipment that you use for the manufacturing has to go through this, which was not there in our in the past. Compliance and adverse reactions, faulty manufacturing, product deterioration, all those are being taken. Pharmacovigilance was not so much requirement. Now it is coming up. I'm sure that you know what is pharmacovigilance, right? To ensure that the patients are able to give back their inputs and ensure that they have the right to good quality medicines. Product recall, as I said, which was not there, now it is coming now. That's how the whole process is going to get refined. And this is what we call about quality by design. The entire circumference, the layers, ensure that you have product performance, process design, process parameters, process control. Beyond that, there's a product knowledge, followed by process understanding and continuous improvement. So this is a layer, it's like a kavach, okay, around the product, and how the entire thing is protected for the improvement of the product that we buy. So the problem of implementation of GMP, okay, couple of them: arrogance, नहीं करने का, okay, attitude, मैं जो कर रहा हूँ सही है, okay, habit, I've been doing this for the last several years, so it is the right thing, okay, culture, we heard about it. I'll give you some examples of that also. System that encourages incorrect practice. I am allowed to ensure that I do it in the wrong manner, and integrity and honesty, we heard about that also. Limited knowledge and education, and stress and fatigue. You make the person do the same thing again and again, you'll always find some shortcuts. Okay, if I have to make 4 dilutions of a sample, okay, in a volumetric flask, I'll say मैं एक ही बनाऊंगा और चारों का बाद में वही analysis कर दूंगा. So that is what the shortcuts happen, and this is what is the problem of implementing the GMP issues. So, as I said, what should the students of pharmacy and science aspire to learn from it? No. Okay, I talked about all those things, what the pharma industry should do. So what should you start with? Okay, that's very important. Okay, you can go and talk about manufacturing other things. It's not up to you now. So there are a couple of things. Ethics, very important. Okay, performing the activity without compromising on the process, no shortcuts and integrity. In your day-to-day activity also, you start imbibing that. You start practicing it. You will continue doing it, and that is what is required. We are in the industry of pharmaceuticals. We are treating patients. Okay, very important to ensure that we are ethical. Data integrity. Regulatory agencies' expectation during inspection. What do they expect? Only 3 things. Okay, first one, what's done should be documented. What's documented is expected to be correct. And what's not documented is not done. That's it. Nothing more than that. So your documentation practices is something that has to be of the utmost level. That is we call it the data integrity. You heard about it? Right? Let me tell you an example. We talk about all these things. Okay? I can write it.
So, Vedas, this is an Android mode or PC mode? PC mode. PC mode only. Just take it.
Just I just want to write it to you.
Pen.
I can do not clear also. चलो.
नहीं होगा लैपटॉप जो है सर वो बोल रहा है सर अतर
Let's see how we talk about this alcova. What is this?
9
No, it's G. No, it's Q. Okay, you see the difference? How is that? Okay. What is this? Now you know what is we are talking about alcova. Okay. It can be 1, it can be I, it can be L. Okay. So that is what we're talking about as legible. Previous one you saw 9. It can be anything. It can be G, it can be 9, it can be Q. Same is the case with U and V. Okay. Same is the case with 7. Either you break it in center, it at least shows as 7, but it can be 1 also. Okay. A Z. If it's written with smooth Z, it looks like a 2. So in our industry, we give a lot of importance to this writing skills also. At least you can start right away. Okay. We don't want people to teach you all these things when you go in there. Okay. Alcova can be started now. Okay. You heard about this. Contemporaneous, which means as and when it happens. In fact, I came to that most of you can understand Marathi, right?
Yeah.
So in fact, one of my slides, I had written this everything in Marathi also. When I do these training programs in some of the sites where people cannot understand English, I use the Marathi also about what exactly. And it's not about knowing what is the full form of alcova. Importance is the concept behind it. Okay, that's important. So whenever you have your writing, don't be in a hurry. I know you have a lot of things to do, but these kind of things can make a difference. And you can imagine that when you are writing something, we call it a transcription errors. Okay, one value, one data has been looked by somebody else. Somebody else is looking his data. You can imagine how many mistakes can happen. And that is all about data integrity. Okay. I'm sure many of you would go to a tailor and tailor का measurement ले रहा है, shoulder का measurement लिया, हाथ का measure लिया. He remembers everything, and after some time he writes everything. No? Okay, we don't want to do that. Neither we don't want to try with our sleeves. I know, sir, some people write with their hand or have a small chalk. We don't want to encourage those kind of things. Okay, and that's where the original contemporaneous data is very important for us. I see a display over there because when I do my activities in the manufacturing or QC or anywhere, I need to write, okay, what's the time now? 10. Okay, 4:10. This activity I have to complete at 4 o'clock. I write 4 o'clock. Okay, or I should have completed 4:30. I write 4:30. So that is where your integrity is very important. Ethics. That ethics and data integrity is all together. That's what we try to make sure that we don't want to have any kind of a compromise on the way that documents are written. That's where automation is important, computerization is important. So you avoid these kind of things. Yeah. 21 CFR. You heard about this? Yes. So this is the guidelines on that. What it talks about electronic records, electronic signatures, audit trail. So everything has to be properly handled. Passwords protection should be there. You should not share passwords. What is audit trail? I'm sure that you know about audit trail. Whatever you do, it gets recorded in the background. Okay, it's called as a metadata. Okay, it's called metadata. What is the data? Say for example, I take a photograph, right? I see a photograph on my mobile phone. That's my data. If you know how to operate a mobile phone, if you click somewhere, you can actually find the details about the photograph being taken, right? It's a date, the place, the settings of the camera, all that comes out. That is the metadata. You don't require that metadata. You don't see that metadata. What you see is the first photograph. That's the data. Okay. Audit trail is something like that. In our kind of thing, we don't. You use MS Office, Word, PowerPoint, Excel. If you create a file, right? If you don't like it, you delete it. Will anybody notice it? Will anybody know that there was a file created? No. In our case, that kind of thing cannot exist. Everything that you do should be audit trailable. So if you want to delete something, modify something, there is a requirement for somebody to authenticate and also give a authorization of why it is required to be deleted. And in our system, if you have a software which is used, there are 3 levels. There's the administrator, there's a user and a reviewer. Okay, the administrator has the maximum privileges. If I'm the chemist in the lab, I can only do the analysis. I cannot modify the method. I cannot change the integration. I cannot change the detector settings. I cannot change the settings of the flow rate. That somebody else can do it. So we have got privileges in the system. You have to ensure that those privileges are activated properly. We can't use passwords which are commonly. I can't use a password ABCD1234. It's common across. Okay, everybody should have a unique password. That's where the biometrics, the iris scan is coming very common now. How do you enter the college now? Do you have an iCard? Yes. Correct. Why? Because in the past, अरे मेरा iCard लेके जाना attendance देते हो सकता था ना? So to avoid that, so you're trying to come up with new ideas, how to minimize those compromising practices. So biometrics, iris, face reading is unique. So nobody can bluff, nobody can catch. So you're trying to ensure that if somebody says, how do you ensure that the attendance that you're marking and the attendance that you're recording and sending the emails to the parents is authenticated? Can somebody say that the student is whiling away his time on the Joe Beach, but his iCard is being used by somebody else for recording? No, that is not possible now. Probably it would have been possible in the past, but it's not possible now. So you have a better system. So that's how we are looking at different systems in our, and that is where software used in the manufacturing and quality are to be ensured that they are perfectly validated, qualified, and that is what we want to ensure, that every activity that is done by that software has to be challenged. Most of the keyboards that we have in the pharma industry, we don't have backspace. The backspace is disabled. The backspace is disabled. Okay, recycle bin. You have a recycle bin? There's no recycle bin in computers. Okay, so these are things that we do because nobody should uncompromisingly do something, delete it and store it. And that is where the softwares that we use are so very secured, and that is the reason why the data integrity issues are minimized. Next one. All-time compliance. No need to prepare for audits and inspections. Okay, all-time readiness is something that we want to ensure. Recently, just 2 weeks back, the commissioner of FDA, US FDA, had been to India, Robert Califf. And coincidentally, I got a chance to meet him, and we had a meeting in Hyderabad and Delhi also. And the reason is US FDA has a lot of high regards for the Indian industry, mind you. But see, when there is a big stakes, there's a profits are there, you'll always find somebody trying to compromise and trying to bring in. See, any big business, you'll have people who want to double their money. Arey, pharma mein bahut acha business hai. So let us bring. But their ethics is very poor. So we want people who are really able to understand the requirement of pharma and also make sure that they have ethics in their practices. So I can tell you from the way that they are giving importance to India, it's very, very commendable. They understand the capability of the Indian technicians and the scientists. They understand the capability of India as a hub for manufacturing beyond the other countries who are not so very reliable. But they say with the political scenario in India, forget about the culture part, we'll talk about it. But the way that India is really ensuring that the medicines are made, they are really happy. And surprisingly, what he said, the commissioner of US FDA, he said, I take he's about 70, 72 years old. Okay. He said, I take a lot of medicines, atorvastatin, some tablets, all those things. He said, out of those tablets, 4 tablets are from India every day. Okay, which means that the quality is understood, and we understand the quality, he understands there is no compromise. So that kind of a bharosa, even the commissioner of FDA has in India. So, and what happened, during his visit, he went to one company in Hyderabad called Divi's Labs. You must have heard about it. Divi's Lab, why he went? Because they created one of the best of facility, both in terms of automation in the plant and the QC. Okay, and he asked them, so with this kind of automation that you have, so much of ensuring that everything is taken care of, so when do you think what should be the frequency of inspection? The people said, you can come anytime. Why are you asking? He said, wow, this is the answer that I want from the industry. There's nothing like telling us to come for an inspection or being ready. It's all time ready. You can walk in anytime. Our systems are all foolproof. Nobody can compromise on anything. And that is where we are looking at, in the industry. Every time we are looking at what can be done better. Like I gave example, you may have an iCard in the past. Now you bought a biometrics, you bought an iris. So you also looking at different ways. The pharma industry was always looking at different avenues of ensuring the standard. But we may have the intention, we may have the ability, we may have the financial clout to do it. But if the regulations of 1940 is not able to support us, that is where the mismatch happens. And if we can bridge that gap, I think that's where India will be able to ensure that we make quality medicines. Next slide. So it should be patient-centric. Okay, confidence of patients on the doctors and hospitals and medicines is very important. Recent cases of inferior medicines exported from India have been disturbing. I'm sure that you know what I'm talking about. Cough syrup. Okay, some shady company who doesn't have any kind of ethics, they manufacture something using ethylene glycol, which is of bad quality, and that created a havoc, and how that bad name came to the industry. It's not even 1% of the total volume or value of that medicine that was sold. But I can tell you that continues to be, repeatedly talked about in the media, in the social media, everywhere. But outside world knows that there could be some miscreants who want to exploit the financial benefits of selling medicines of this kind. But India as a country is not common across these things. But for people from industry, it's something that we really are trying to make sure that this does not continue for a long time. Next slide. So what is the biggest concern? So you showed one slide, right? With the okay, I tried to bring in. Is it a common thing for us?
Yes.
It's a common thing, no? Okay, we don't even realize while going from here to home. You see this commonly. It's something that we have been used to it.
We are deeply appreciative of your time and wisdom, promising to strive for excellence in everything we do. Now I would like to request Dr. Sujata ma'am to give token of appreciation to Dr. Raju Desai sir.
Point I would like to make over here, that's a sign of a good speaker. Both are speakers, they were so active because they shared their experiences, what they have experienced during their entire professional tenure. And when you are that active speaker, when you have experienced yourself in your profession, you can easily connect to the audience. And that is what both the speakers wonderfully they conveyed what they wanted to share by giving live examples. These small examples, what they shared, I mean, they really, what I should say, registered the thought. I feel that now you realize how important is your reporting your observations in LLB. And hopefully, little baby step if we take today, tomorrow it will be beneficial for you all when you all land up in industry. Thank you so much.
As we come to the end of this remarkable event, I would like to request event coordinator Prachi Pathak ma'am to recite the pledge and deliver vote of thanks.
I would like to request students to stand up because I think my
Please put your right hand on your heart and repeat after me. Accomplish the goal of professional development, I as a pharmacy student pledge. I as a pharmacy student pledge. I shall be guided. In all dimensions of my life. By the highest standards. Of human conduct. I shall apply. The full measure of my knowledge. And abilities. To supporting the health and well-being. For all those I serve. I shall always. Place the needs of all. Those I serve. Above my personal interests and considerations. I shall treat all. Those I serve. Equally. Fairly. And with respect. Regardless of. Gender. Race. Ethnicity. Religion. Culture. Or political beliefs. I shall protect. Confidentiality of personal and health information. Entrusted to me. I shall maintain. My professional knowledge.
competence
throughout my career.
throughout my career.
I shall support
Advancement of knowledge
and standards
of practice in pharmacy.
I shall nurture
The preparation
of future members of my profession.
of future members of my profession.
I shall use
All opportunities
to
develop
collaborative practice
with all healthcare professionals
in my environment.
in my environment.
And profound gratitude. I give a heartfelt thank you to all the distinguished speakers, Dr. Parija Lenchirana, the Principal Technical Scientist and ECG World, and Dr. Raji Desai, Sir, Senior Technical Advisor at Indian Pharmaceutical Alliance. I must say we all were fortunate enough to hear from the stalwarts of the pharmaceutical industry. Their expertise has added an immense value to our event. I'm sure their words will resonate deeply in all of you and leave an indelible mark on their understanding and the pharmaceutical industry's importance in safeguarding public well-being. So aligned with IDMA and PCI, our college has organized this event. The event held a significance in nurturing and committing our students and building in a sense of responsibility in them so that they will follow the higher standards of quality and safety in the pharmaceutical sector they will go. So sirs and ma'am's presence and the insights were very much instrumental in making this vision a reality. I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Munira Momin, Principal, for her constant encouragement and support. Thanks are due to Dr. Sojata Savarkar, the convener of the event, for her guidance in each and every step. Thank you to all the MPharm students, second years especially, and Vedant and Pankaja for their active involvement. Lastly, thank you to each and everyone who has participated in this event to make this an resounding success. So, thank you so much.
For bringing this event a great success. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again for being a part of this event. We hope to see you again in our future endeavors. Until then, stay inspired, stay curious, and keep reaching for new horizons. I kindly request all of you to come front for a group picture.